time and for the time to speak today. I would like to address the allegations of dishonesty being reviewed today regarding my use of force on August 13, 2017 while I was employed as a police officer with the Grand Ronde Tribal Police Department. First, I would like to say that I was never dishonest during this incident. The associated reports and statements regarding and after the incident, nor at any other time in my law enforcement career. I've always strived to be honest, forthright, and conduct myself with integrity and professionalism, and this incident was no exception to that. I do believe that I made plenty of mistakes during the use of force, as I explained in my letter to the committee. Those are mistakes of perception and facts, as well as tactical mistakes and de-escalation. In fact, I did take responsibility for that during my termination hearing with the Grand Ronde Tribal Police Department and asked for additional training. When I tased the suspect the first time, I truly believed he was taking an aggressive stance with me while his mother rapidly approached me. When I tased him the second time, I truly believed he was resisting. I had no malice or ill will towards the suspect. I was in fear of my safety and not confident in my ability to utilize hands-on techniques with two subjects due to lack of training and being by myself with no backup. At the time, I fully believed I was about to be assaulted and that I was acting fully within policy of the law and in good faith. Still to this day, when I recall that day, my brain remembers the incident exactly how I described it in my reports. When I later viewed the body camera footage, I was surprised to see inconsistencies from my memory of the incident, such as when the suspect did not in fact take a fighting stance but raised his hands shoulder high. And I realize some people are on the phone, but I wanted to demonstrate what I saw in my mind was him doing this and leaning forward, and when I later watched it, he was doing this, both about shoulder high. I also was surprised that the body camera did not pick up the resistance that I felt and remembered while I was attempting to handcuff, double lock, and search the suspect afterwards, and when I tased him the second time. I did conduct myself with integrity, however, and as noted in my written statement, I addressed this in my report by first writing that, quotes, "The following happened in substance to the best of my recollection and perception at the time of the incident," and then wrote about what happened as I had experienced it. At the end of my report, I wrote, "I later reviewed my body camera footage and observed that directly before I activated my taser, suspect took a step backwards with his hands up. I did not notice this during the incident due to the speed at which events were unfolding and due to the fact that female subject was approaching me and I believed I was about to be assaulted. I would have to fight both female subject and male suspect without a cover unit," end quote. I was not given a chance to explain my perception or my side of things with the Grand Ronde Tribal Police Department during my termination hearing. I was given the conclusion of their findings without any opportunity to give a statement and given the choice to be terminated or resign immediately. The HR representative present at my termination hearing told me that they would tell any future employers outside of law enforcement that I resigned so that I could get a new job quicker. I chose this route to be able to provide for my family. When the Oregon State Police detective later contacted me, asking for my statement and letting me know I was being criminally investigated, I was nothing but cooperative and gave a voluntary, roughly 3-hour interview and statement. I originally had offered to do the same with the Grand Ronde Tribal Police Department, but was told it was not needed for the conclusion of my case had already been decided. I've been nothing but open, truthful, and cooperative in this whole process, and have from the beginning acted in good faith. I fully admit that in hindsight, and with more training, I believe I could approach the use of force situation much better, but I did my best at the time and have been honest about what occurred throughout every step of this. I hope that the committee today sees that while I made mistakes during my career, and definitely during this use of force incident, none of them were due to dishonesty, malice, or any intention to mislead. I hope the letters of character reference from Officer Dilworth of the Cottage Grove Police Department, with whom I served originally at the Warm Springs Police Department, and from Petty Officer Armstrong from the U.S. Coast Guard, my supervisor in the Coast Guard Reserve, who both speak to my integrity, will be taken into consideration. I would like to conclude my statement by reiterating that I was not dishonest, had no intention to deceive, mislead, or falsify anything at any time during this incident or any other time in my law enforcement career, and that I have been nothing but open, honest, and cooperative during this entire process. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Okay, we need a motion to adopt the record or suggestions for.
Chris Davis, for the record, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
There's body-worn camera video. Is it possible for us to see that? Because we hear a lot of descriptions of the video throughout this, but for me, a lot of this hinges on what exactly the video showed.
Yes, we do have it, we can play it. The people on the phone are not going to get to see it, unfortunately.
And I don't think it's something I can email.
How long is this? You have it keyed up for.
Yeah, I can't remember how long. It's probably a good minutes.
Just bring Ken for the record. I think Chris is, it seems like the relevant portions are the approach up through the cuffing and the second tasing. Following that, I'm not sure that we need to see that much more, or am I wrong there?
No, all I'm thinking is just the confrontation.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I can see all the.
Right. I think that's a good idea.
You guys keep eyes on him? Yeah, because you can't. Fucking no! Shut up! Hey! Stop! Police! Stop! Get on the ground!
What do you want?
Get on the ground now!
Me?
No, you back up! Go to the side! You, on the ground! Get on the ground now! Move aside! Get on the ground or you're moving things! Get back away! Get on the ground now! Get on the ground! That's one taste. Get on the ground or you can taste too! Fucking do it! Down! Get out! On the ground! Get on the ground and do not move! Can you go, medics? Just keep it away. Turn on your side. Turn on your side. You're under arrest. You have a warrant? Stand back. You're under arrest. Do not move. Stay back. Keep your hands where you can see them. Put your hand right here. Shut up. Put your hands right here. And you're going to get it again. What do I do? What do I do? Do not move. What do I do? Don't move. It doesn't matter. Shut up. It's not a good idea. Do not move again or I will give you to them.
Protect himself.
Shut up. This is not about you. What do I do? You have no warrant.
You're being arrested for.
That's not your business. No, it's all your business. Stop moving or I will tase you again. Do not move. I will tase you again. Stop moving. Don't move. Or you'll get it again. That's not about it. Shut up. You done? If you pull away from again, you'll get it again. Turn your head the other way. Turn your head the other way. Turn your head away. Be quiet.
What's it done?
Definitely. I have it on the ground. Hey, shouldn't resist. I told you you're under arrest, you resisted.
Okay, Chris? Okay, so we brought the video into the record. Anything else? A motion to adopt the record?
So I wanted to make, I don't know if this is getting ahead, but a point on a mitigating circumstance. Was that?
Well, we need to adopt the record.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead.
Okay.
Craig Zanny, I'll make a motion to adopt the record.
Craig Halfhouse, second. Discussion? All those in favor of adopting the record? You can run that?
To adopt the staff report, Chris Allison,
Yes.
Dale Cummins,
Yes, yes, with a stipulation that if that video is part of it, that the folks that are on the phone have not been able to view that video.
okay, Pat Garrett,
Yes.
Craig Kolakowski,
Yes.
Travis Hampton,
Yes.
Andy Hyder,
Yes.
Zach King,
Yes.
Liz Lawrence,
Yes.
Chris Davis,
Yes.
Bradley Robertson,
Yes.
Craig Zanny,
Yes.
Brian Wolf,
Yes.
John Peake.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay. And so you're You have mitigating stuff for later, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need some consensus around the criteria. Gross misconduct.
I know, I was gonna say, I just don't think this rises to the level of violating moral fitness standard. I think that this is a reflection of an officer who's got a 2.5 years total with law enforcement, but for 1 year, then almost a 5-year gap, and then another 1.5 years. Doesn't meet the DPSST's training requirements for minimum requirements for certification, and is obviously in the video in over his head. So it's like a lack of experience, a lack of training, and I have lots of issues with how this was handled, but I don't see this as rising to the level of violating a moral fitness standard. This is a performance standard.
Dale Cummins.
Go ahead, Dale.
For the record, I agree with him on the moral fitness standards. This appears to have been a tragedy of a department that didn't properly train their officers. 1 hour is not enough to train someone, to put them in a high-tense situation with 2 aggravated individuals, one of them having a felony warrant and having to make split-second decisions. The fact that his original statements differed from the video tells me, or makes me lean toward the fact that he's telling the truth. He's recalling what he saw. I mean, someone that was up to no good would probably not give a statement until they reviewed the video to decide what they said. And in this case, I think he gave an honest statement of what he perceived. And sometimes the perception of an officer in a high-tense situation will be different from the facts. We know a lot of cases where officers even fire their weapons thinking there's a gun only to find out it's a phone. It doesn't make them lie. The other part was there were 4 security guards there who all said they felt the use of force was good to go. They probably have a lack of training also, but it just shows you more people who are in the situation, seeing it unfold in real time, with a perception also that the use of force was right, based on what they're just seeing, not their training and experience per se.
This is Liz Lawrence for the record. So, TASER instructor, 21-year DT instructor. We wait, there's a reason why we wait 72 hours to interview officers who are involved in critical incidents such as a shooting, because perceptions change and things tick in your memory when you have a chance to decompress and realize what happened. It's egregious to me that the cover officer who was available checks off duty instead of responding to assist the officer in this scenario. It's ever evolving. There are 2 potential threats. Again, there are some training issues, but it was a terrible circumstance to be in the first place.
Yeah, this is Travis. Liz stole my thunder, but I gave heavy weight to one of the fact finders in the review was the person that warned this officer that this guy was a potential problem, prone to violence, had a warrant, and then checked off duty. That weighed really heavy on me. I actually had a hard time getting past that page. But I watched the video. For those on the phone, you'd have to watch it probably 5 times on the initial tasering to figure out what the heck happened. I mean, it was pretty dynamic, pretty quick. The second is debatable, but I've reviewed a lot of use of force, and I just don't view this as cut and dry. And I agree with my colleagues around the table. I just don't see moving this forward for certification consideration.
The one problem I have is in tasing when he was handcuffed. Because there were other alternatives, frankly, you could do the kidneys, but no, stick his knee in the back, small in his back, not tasing when he's handcuffed.
Zach Kenny, I think that, we're being asked about honesty, I think, was primarily what the issue was. I think all of us would agree that there is a training and a performance issue here. And whether there's 6 other ways we could have skinned this cat, I think we could do that. But the fact that remains that, I don't believe that this is a moral fitness issue.
And I just procedurally, for the record, want to mirror what Zach just said. This isn't a procedural discussion. This is what's the moral fitness standard?
Right.
So,
Chris Davis, for the record, if I can add something. I agree with the discussion, and one reason why is when you look at the second tasing and then you look at the officer's account of why he made that decision, And we use the Graham standard to evaluate force, and it says right in that decision, we don't use 20/20 hindsight. Would I have done the same thing in that situation? I don't know, because I wasn't in it. But if you're looking for it, you can see the guy moving around a little bit, and there's what comes out of his mouth, and there's a whole totality of the circumstances, and I just don't feel like this is clear-cut enough to say that this was an intentional use of excessive force. So if it's not an intentional use, excessive use of force, it's hard for me to say that there's a moral fitness issue there versus some significant training issues maybe, but that's how I get there.
Okay, so it seems there's consensus that there is no gross misconduct. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yes, I was just going to identify that the consensus is that there's no violation to the moral fitness standard at all, so I don't.
Right. Okay, about
So-
disregard for the rights of others.
No.
Consensus there's none. Misuse of authority. Consensus is that there's none. Dishonesty.
No.
On the phone? Okay, so we have consensus that there's no violation of moral fitness standards on either of the four criteria under the new rules.
You're done.
So you're done, yep.
Ms. Rankin, for the record, do you take a vote on that, or no, just a consensus?
It's a consensus, discussion and consensus only.
There was nothing identified, and there's,
Got it.
That's why I spent so much time earlier on this, what consensus means, because we don't go to a vote. We used to, we don't go to voting any longer. So, we're done, and you're done.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take 15 minutes to get lunch.
But I spent 7